All right, welcome everybody. This is the Gold Bug panel discussion. We're calling it Dissecting the Gold Bug because who doesn't remember in third grade taking some metallic beetle and learning about the parts of it? So this is...
Who does remember that?
What kind of school did you guys go to?
Not yours.
So the Gold Bug is a puzzle contest through the Crypto and Privacy Village. We've been going for how many years now?
I think this is our sixth or seventh year.
Speak into the microphone.
6th or 7th year. That's right.
All right. So today we are here to discuss some of last year's puzzles, talk about the competition, go through some solves from the puzzles last year. It might spark some inspiration on solving this year's puzzles. Any other intro you want to do for general stuff?
Yeah, who are you?
I was gonna
Oh, we're not doing that.
Okay, well now.
So yeah,
we'll
if you don't know what the Gold Bug is, you're about to find out. And we do have a little bit of swag that we'll hand out. So thanks for coming, and we'll distribute it at the end. Now you have to wait. Come a whole hour.
All right, so just basic introductions. I think we'll start with just who you are and a little bit of how you got involved in puzzles, your team, Gold Bug in general, whatever you want.
You want to go first?
Yeah, don't worry about rushing. So I'm Stephen Barker, T7. I've been doing Gold Bug for 4 years now. Got involved. I guess sort of like the backstory. We have people laughing at me. So, like, as a kid, I always loved puzzles. Like, the only thing good about going to the dentist was that crate of the highlights magazines to go through in the waiting room. Then you try to go with your siblings so they can go get drilled and you can just stay in the waiting room the whole time. So, I've been doing puzzles, different puzzles, whatever I can find. It's always fun. And then a few years ago, I made a t-shirt for a thing, and I said, well, that's boring, so I'll put like an Easter egg in it. And then the next one I made the year after that, I was like, well, let's step it up a little bit more. And so I made it more of a puzzle. And Kevin saw one of those t-shirts, and he's like, hey, you like puzzles? That's cool. And I solved some of the Gold Bug puzzles, and I started test solving some puzzles, and I started making some puzzles, and then I started making the meta puzzle, and I guess here I am.
Nice. So I'm Kevin Hewlin, Cryptalk. Been solving puzzles for a long time. I guess my origin story is back at Defcon 19, spending my entire con. So that was my first Defcon. I've been to pretty much everyone since then. COVID happened, and there was one family vacation that got in the way one year. But otherwise, it's been a ton of fun. So Defcon 19, I arrived. There was a badge challenge. I'm sure these guys remember it. So that was the year of the titanium coin things. Lost Boy, creator of the contest, had, bought all the titanium in the world and turned them into badges. Ended up spending the entire con in a conference room with 50 people I didn't know, banging our heads against the wall. Decided to come back the next year, played the badge challenge, got an Uber badge, and it's been fun ever since. So a few years later, started doing the Crypto and Privacy Village Gold Bug contest, played that one, asked if I could write some puzzles, went from, again, writing a puzzle, writing a few puzzles, writing most of the puzzles, running the contest, and now teaching someone else maybe or forcing someone else to take on more leadership. So it's been a long time, a lot of fun. But anyway, let me stop talking. Here you go.
We've got time.
No, actually that's a very common arc. So my name is Punk and I'm a psychoholic.
Hello,
My
Punk.
origin story, hello Punk. My origin story is very similar to Cryptalk's. Came to DEF CON, I think my first was DEF CON 13. Didn't know what to do, didn't talk to anyone, didn't meet anyone. Skipped 14, came back 15, and jumped into contests. I think at the time it was the Own the Box contest, which was a lot of fun. I spent the entire con in that room just trying to get into these systems, right? And like I was addicted to contests at that point. And then the next year, I randomly ran into some guys, very crazy guys, that were doing this contest called Mystery Challenge. And I was like, oh, can I help out? And from that point on, I was a puzzle addict. So Lost Boy, Lost, his Mystery Challenge was just insane. If you've never heard of it, go find someone who competed in it. It'll blow your mind. But ended up on the Psychoholics team. We competed, we lost. We competed, we won. We kept winning. Then we started asking if we could run contests, like we run Crash&Compile. And then we decided to create contests. So we created Dungeons at Defcon. We have the tinfoil hat contest. So it's a very common theme. Like once you get into the contest arena, like you don't have to win, but you're addicted to that community. And everyone in it is very supportive. You'll end up like just hanging out with people running contests that, you know, just baffle your mind is how they put it together. You know, like AJ with Cube and stuff like that. They're just insane people that are very, very creative. So anyway, that's me, my origin story.
So brief interlude, when he was talking about the years, I went this year, I skipped this year, and the numbers, like my first instinct was I need to write down these numbers because it's important. And then I remember where I was, so it's okay.
Yeah, there's something we all have in common, clearly. Anyways, I'm Theo. I don't know why I'm here. I'm a JavaScript YouTuber, but I had friends who were into this puzzle, and I went to go see them at my first ever DEF CON, which was last year's. And they were all huddled in this tiny hotel room solving this weird pile of PDFs that they promised me had a 12-character thing hidden somewhere in them. And eventually I started to see that there might be something in them. And me and my roommate Mark and a couple other friends, Primogen, Luke, and whatnot, all just kind of sat in this tiny hotel room, even though we had a much bigger one not far away, just solving these PDFs and breaking these web pages, trying to figure out where these codes were hidden. And now this is why I come to DEF CON every year, is to solve these puzzles. It's very fun, and the fact that I got to win one of the harder contests my first year is absurd, but yeah, that's how the JavaScript YouTuber snuck onto the panel.
Hi, I'm Gurn. I'm an addict.
Hello, Gurn.
I got started in puzzles when I was a kid, just taking stuff apart, putting it back together. And I'd ask my dad a lot of questions and didn't get a lot of answers sometimes, but made me more curious to find those answers. But I think when I became truly addicted was when I got introduced to a lost puzzle, which is how I'm sure a few of us here may have either become addicted or made that addiction a bit worse. Yeah, Goldbug is more puzzles. I like other puzzles. I have an unhealthy relationship with telephone systems. I tend to get pulled into telephone puzzles as well. But yeah, that's me.
All right. Want to talk about this year's puzzle?
About this year's?
Oh, last year's.
Last year's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't have it on my screen. So every year the Goldbug has a different theme. Some themes are a little stronger or more stringent with the puzzle than others. But it's always a lot of fun. So last year our theme was Victorian parlor games. So just pulling you into the past, and each of our puzzles was somehow based on a parlor game. And so, like, you know, in early stages, we were thinking like, oh, board games, chess, checkers, like little things. But then we sort of shifted into parlor games, and I think it was a lot of fun. Just curious, who here saw last year's puzzles or participated? Excellent. You were banging on your heads and on the wall, and now you're here looking for answers. Excellent. So, yeah, like our Goldbug puzzles every year, it starts with something, a picture, a video, a sound file, you know, a PDF, some little spinning dice image that makes no sense.
Really bad JavaScript code.
See, that's how we attract the people.
Please make it better.
But then I can do the puzzles.
And so the first step of every puzzle is really just to figure out what's going on. What is the actual puzzle out of this thing that I'm given?
That's the last step, too.
That is true. And so if you're approaching a puzzle and you haven't seen it before, which, obviously is the case, like one of the things to do is like look and see what is the actual information. What is background? What is flavor text? And what are the pieces that you're trying to get information out of? What is the story that's telling you? And what can you learn from it? So, if you see a picture of trees, are there differences in the trees? Are some taller? Do they have different branches? Are they different types? Especially if you're expecting like a 12-letter answer because all of your other puzzles gave 12-letter answers. Are there 12 trees? Then that tells you something. Like to add to that?
No.
Excellent. It was perfect. Thank you very much. So we can start talking about puzzles first or like background, random questions.
So
What do you guys want to hear?
Maybe let's start with some statistics from last year. I've got some things pulled up on my phone here. So last year, at the end of con, Team Psychoholics won, solving 12 of the 14 puzzles. There were 2 puzzles that went unsolved during con, but were solved after con. I don't remember how. You did eventually solve them all.
I did it in the airport, waiting to get my flight. I solved the music box, and that unlocked the meta puzzle.
Nice.
Excellent.
Also solved in the airport.
Nice. So within hours of the conference ending, the rest had fallen. Last year we had 242 teams register. I think right now we're sitting about 200 maybe for this year's contest. 44 of those teams actually scored points. So it's not an easy contest. There's actually no gimme problems in the gold bug, which pros and cons. There were, last year, 3,447 answers submitted, and one challenge that I made, Labyrinth, had 2,070 incorrect submissions. I may have discovered after conference that I made an error, so oops. Part of the contest.
Want to talk about it? Can I share a story on that one?
Yeah, we can jump into it.
All right. So the puzzle he's talking about, there was this rotating, shape, right, with a labyrinth all around it, right? And you were supposed to kind of walk this path through the labyrinth as it's rotating and figure it out, and it spelled a bunch of letters, right? Well, one of the paths was accidentally a dead end, and I think that was the mistake that was made. So you were trying to get 12 characters in a row, and you got to like 6. And then there was no path that worked out. Thor, one of our team members, was working on this for like almost an entire day, like trying to figure this out, and could not get it to work. Nothing was working out. So I went back and I figured, well, I've got the first 6. Why don't I try guessing the last 7? And so I just brute forced everything. You knew which letters to choose from, so it was a smaller subset. And I just got this long list, and I started scanning through it for English text and found a match. Submitted it, key worked. So I go back into the room, and Thor is still just trying to figure this thing out. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I solved that one. He's like, how'd you figure out the maze? And I was like, there was a maze? He just about died.
Yeah. I mean, we can go into a little more detail on this one. So this one, I like coding in Python, and I had a vision for creating some kind of maze program, and that morphed into a 3-dimensional maze, which morphed into me learning how to use Blender and other programs that I have no reason to be using myself. And yeah, so, we posted this video, and, my Python program told me to put these letters in these boxes, and I screwed it up. So some of the boxes, I think I inverted some of them, but anyway. So good job for solving it regardless. That is part of the contest, right?
Any chance you accidentally inverted things on other puzzles this year?
Never.
No. Not unintentionally. So so maybe let's
Quick, write that down.
let's go through it. So we do have some questions kind of for the panelists. But we also have all of the puzzles from last year. Maybe by a show of hands, who worked on the puzzles last year and has one puzzle or a few puzzles that you're really interested in hearing something about? If not, we can just walk through all of them. What puzzle was it? Chess.
Enough said.
I think you've evoked some memories.
I wrote a lot of chess playing software that year.
You wanna?
No.
It was in JavaScript, right?
Answer from the panelist. Comment?
No. Luke
No,
and
no, no.
Mark solved that one, right?
Where's chess?
Yeah, we were on 2 hours of sleep at that point.
I might have.
Charades
Slide
was
8.
really fun. We half
All right. All right, so chess, care to play a game? All right, I'll talk through it. So with this one, there were a few layers here, and there was actually quite a bit of misdirection. So if you start interacting with the game, it seems to play a game of chess. Actually, the black pieces are exclusively moving their knight and seemingly not playing chess very well. With the white pieces, you can pretty easily achieve checkmate. Spoiler alert, that does not solve the puzzle, but kudos to you for winning a game against a terrible AI chess opponent. There were several instances where the game would just totally break, and then you could move both sides. So we had several teams like, oh, we solved it. Like now we control the board. We can figure out what the answer is. That did not yield anything at all either. So the knight moving, you may have heard like of Knight's Path kind of puzzle. So it seems like maybe there's something there, but there's no alphabet on the squares. Like what are we supposed to do here? This is where digging a little deeper was required. So if you looked at the image that was on the page, I believe it was the file name, is that right? Was a 64 character string. Turns out there might be 64 characters on a chessboard. And if you lay them out on the board, you get something, but not what you need. And then there were some additional clues. They're not here on the screen, but about or row and file. So you had to modify you had to like rotate the letter based on the row in the file where the king was landing at the time that letter was being observed. And then you got an answer, right? So pretty straightforward. Yeah. Yeah.
It took us like, what, 20 seconds?
Totally wasn't distracted for like a day because of the fact that if you got it so the black piece couldn't move, the AI would stop. You move a black piece, then it starts moving the white. The AI just does whatever. Like you give it a board, and it does the next move. It doesn't really care whose turn it is.
So it is an interesting topic though, with like puzzle design and puzzle solving. It's very easy to explain a puzzle that you've designed and what the solution is. What I think, Cryptoc and his team and some of the other developers around Comments are really, really good at is knowing how long it's going to take people to get to that point to solve, right? So planning a contest as big as Goldbug with 12, 15 puzzles that can be completed in the course of Friday and Saturday essentially is like a whole skill set on its own. But it's also one of these things where you're looking at it and you're like, oh yeah, it's perfectly obvious to me. It's like, yeah, because you designed it. Like, and I think I get the same thing when I design a puzzle. Like, it's baffling to me. Like, people are asking questions like, how do you not get this, right? But they're also very good at hinting and pushing you down that right path. And that's one of the skills for some of these puzzles is figuring out that hint path Like, what are the keywords? What does it actually mean? How does it move me forward in my algorithm? Right. And that requires a good puzzle designer to lay out those tiles for you. And this guy does an amazing job. So
Yeah, it's very easy to make a puzzle that everybody can solve. And it's very easy to make a puzzle that nobody can solve. So the hard part is finding that balance in the middle, and then obviously like seeing how people are doing, which ones people are struggling on the most, what are the weird gotchas that you hadn't anticipated, and then using hints as that dial to sort of tweak it and try to keep the pacing so that we don't have a winner on Friday morning before noon, and on the other side that we don't have no points on the board Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and also not to just give it away either, right? Like that's kind of fun. It's like spoiling a magic trick. No one wants a hint was like, here's the answer. Like, well, then why am I doing it, right? You just want a nudge to get you over that hurdle, right?
All right. I'm looking at our stats now. So unfortunately, we don't have these numbered. Oh, well. So puzzle number 1. So this was Etiquette. We had 48 solves on this one. Is that right?
That sounds right.
So,
I think most of those were on Sunday.
yeah. Steven, you want to talk about how you made this one? Or
Sure.
What was the inspiration?
So the inspiration was kind of the answer.
There you go.
That was the inspiration. So, I'd seen little book foldy art before, and I said, hey, that would make a fun puzzle. So I just took a PDF and I drew lines on it and said, well, these are the crease marks. Have at it. Actually making it was obviously a little more involved, like drawing the lines on the PDF, choosing a book that would be accessible, obviously out of copyright so we don't get in trouble for it.
I'm far too familiar with the contents of said book. We spent a lot of time reading, trying to find hints.
Yeah.
Thanks for the, 600-page PDF? Thank you.
You are
really
quite
appreciate
welcome.
that.
And we also wanted it to be on theme. So, a book about etiquette that sets you up for the mood for the rest of the puzzles. It might, inspire you with a hint somewhere later down the line.
There was an entire section on the etiquette of using fans, and another puzzle involved fans. Thanks for that. That was. Now,
Well-
if I ever have a fan, I know how to use it.
To be fair, it was the same granny involved.
So on the other side, what solving this one looked like is we had a blurb of text that we got this book from our grandmother about etiquette and making sure we behaved for parties. And the PDF on the page just had lines on every single page of it. And we spent a lot of time trying to programmatically find these lines, find what characters they overlapped with, and try to generate text from it. Eventually, Primogen, who you guys might know, had this program with all of the lines and decided to try and fold it so that we would be able to see what it would look like from the side after every other thing we tried failed. And suddenly had this really bad terminal Python UI that vaguely looked like words, realized he was shifting everything slightly, kept fucking with the math until he got an answer out of it somehow. So yeah, that one took a day and a half, I think, of almost all of us working on it some amount. We had probably 10 people in the hotel room just staring at this PDF, going page by page, trying to figure out what the hell was hidden inside of it. We were convinced the text of the PDF mattered for the majority of the time we were trying to solve this.
Also, shout out to Primogen for his video about it, where he was reading the story using the granny voice. It was fun to watch that. I made those words.
All right. Let's jump to the... Did anyone solve this one? Cirque Mystique.
Yeah, we liked that one. That was fun.
That one was actually really fun. Yeah, we kind of once the first one was.
This one was super fun. Once we had figured out the first section, this was the multiple URLs one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the themes I've seen in the Gold Bug challenges is some of them, instead of it just being one puzzle, the puzzle gets you a new URL you go to, and the URLs add to each other until at the end there's a meta puzzle involving all of the different paths you've added to the URL. Once the first one was cracked on this one, the team all got really excited, oh, we're making progress on this, and we all just kind of stopped doing the things we were doing and no life to this one
Eating,
puzzle
sleeping,
together.
showering.
Yeah. Do you think we do those during DEF CON anyways?
Caring about our family.
Sleep is a memory.
I remember you and I went back and forth a lot near the end of this one. Once how was the thing that I think I discovered some weird pattern, then you immediately it was something about combining the words on each side of one of them. And as soon as I did that, you're like, oh, I'm good with words.
You're asking me to remember a long time ago.
I asked you to remember a year ago.
Like I said, a long time ago.
So this is the first page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have the other pages, or do you?
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
Yeah, it ended up at the bottle one at the end.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
remember.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one. So how did you solve this one, or how did you approach this one?
I think you did this one, if I recall.
No, this was Thor, I think.
Yeah, no, it was a bunch of people, but so I mean the approach I can't remember this one specifically, but
You start looking at the images and you start noticing like a hippopotamus and an ear, right? A beaver and a rose, and it should push you towards wordplay, and then not taking the image too literally, but then the words that you get from it, trying to mess around with them. There was another one you did one year where it's like two words that when joined together can be split apart to mean two different things. Yeah. Like, I can't even think of one. I was like,
You smash them together and you can cut it into
copper scent, right? So copper and scent, SCENT, and copper's scent, like that kind of thing. So that kind of wordplay. I forget honestly where this one went.
I know that animals were the order. I remember
Yeah.
that.
So when you're thinking about puzzles, you're typically looking for data, you're looking for order, you're looking for letters, depending on what kind of puzzle it is. This one you're looking for a URL, so you're looking for ASCII characters. Typically they're English words, so that you have some awareness that this makes sense. We're on the right track. It would really suck to have all answers that were just random letters, and you'd have to, it's garbage. So anyway, for this one, you notice there's animals, you notice there's objects, and by the way, I love AI generation for art now, so that makes my puzzles much more poppier. But anyway, so alligator starts with A. He's holding an orange. Take the O. You have a beaver with a rose. Beaver starts with B. That's the second letter of the alphabet. R. R is the first letter of rose. So now you have OR, and you just keep going, and you get the name of the next page, which was the magician. Do y'all remember the magician?
You do. I do. Yeah, because this was the one right before.
The bottles, right?
Oh, this is the one with the mirrored numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it took us a minute to figure out what the mirrored numbers were because there was some ambiguity with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you look around the magician, they're numbers that are just mirrored, so they make it look weird, and there's a little bit of ambiguity in some of them. Like, it's hard to tell 3s from 8s sometimes, depending on what they're with. So that one I remember that one being fun. I just remember hating, it was either 3s and 8s and 6s and 9s and 6s and 8s. The curves sometimes were really hard to tell.
Yep.
I love the visuals on this one though. Those symbols are really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, this one, again, playing around with image software that I shouldn't be playing around with. Notice that if you flip and mirror numbers, you can make these cool little glyphs, and I particularly like the ones that look like bugs and little beetles. Big fan. So you just decode those. You get I think this one was A1Z26. You decode that, and you get the next puzzle. Do y'all remember this one?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pass that one down there. This was his nemesis puzzle.
It involved, there were instructions on how to shift the bottles, if I remember, or we had to decode something on how to shift the bottles. The only thing I remember about this is, because it was a 2-stage one where you did a shift and that gave you instructions on how to do the next shift. And on the second shift, we had the instructions, and both Probigen and I both programmed it out, and we have just absolute gibberish for our answer. And so we're just sitting there saying these gibberish words back and forth to each other. Now, mind you, we're both sleep deprived. It's like 4 a.m, so we are not exactly in a coherent state. So we find this the funniest thing in the world. And so it's like, Uba Zaba Juvendaben. And then we're doing this and this was like for 4 or 5 hours straight. And then at some point, I think like my computer fell on the floor or something like that. And I see my terminal up there and like my computer sideways. I'm like, oh, oops. So we had the answer for like a solid 4 to 6 hours. We just weren't reading it in the right orientation.
We were about to have them committed.
Yeah, it was hilarious. So there was a rotation instruction in the first decoding, and the problem with the rotation instruction is that they're all crypto people, and they see rotation and assume they have to do some mathematical rotation of the content of the text, not just take it, turn it on its side, and get a different reading because they're too smart for their own good. There's a common saying in the Psychoholics that the hardest problems are the easy ones. They're our kryptonite. Also worth noting that we're still on one puzzle right now. This is part 3 of a 4-part puzzle, one of the 13 puzzles from this year.
That's a good point though. And like I highly recommend getting a group of people and like starting a team and doing contests. Like you get way more out of DEF CON. Make sure your team has a lot of different skill sets. You never know what's going to pop up. Like, I am not a hardware guy. I've never gotten into hardware. But we have Krux, who is practically a cyborg. So I don't need to know hardware for our team to succeed in anything that moves into the hardware layer. So everyone has their little specialties and their focus. And, build your team to kind of highlight all of those different areas. And you'll end up having a lot of fun.
Careful, you're venturing into heartwarming life.
I'll fix it. Not just skill sets.
Much. I'm like in a Hallmark movie right now.
There you go.
Not just varied skill sets, but varied skill levels. Try to have at least one stupid JavaScript dev on the team because they will immediately throw out all of the math, all of the science, all of the crypto stuff, and just try to solve the puzzle. And a lot of the time that is necessary because this dude's just flipping numbers in a photo editor half the time. We're not doing some crazy ciphers for at least half the puzzles. But then the other half, I'll just stare at something that turns out to be a simple cipher for 2 days straight. So balances out.
All right, so the solution for this one, you notice there's 4 rows, 4 columns. In each box, you have 3 jars or three different colored bottles. At the bottom of the page, there was some hints that would get you to figuring out the decoding for the different colors. It was very straightforward. It was red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and then I think the
different jar
the
shapes.
circle was 0 or 1 multiplier, and then the triangle was maybe the 2. I don't know. Didn't matter. Anyway, you end up with a way to get out 26 different letters. You think alphabet again. The trick for this one was that you add the bottles that are in the same cubby together, and then you mod that 26 and you get a letter. So the first decoding of that, you get something like shift left, drop last, or something like that. So obviously you shift left and drop left. The trick for this one, maybe that was maybe a little evil, was that to extract that next part, you had to read from top to bottom, left to right, to get the answer, which, yeah, I think you did have it for quite a long time. And
It's fun when people come to us asking for help and you just look, it's like, I can see the answer on your screen or your paper and you just don't see it yet.
Oh no, I think I still have the message from him where he's just like laughing.
all right, let's move on to the next part of this one. So this one, you want to talk about it?
Yeah.
This one, the whole room jumped in on.
Yeah, we like some of these puzzles like just catch your eye and they just become instantly interesting and they're a lot of fun. So when we started looking at this one, the first thing that pops out are the flags, right? And then various other things. So you start looking at countries, languages, and this ended up being like a translation fun puzzle where You always see those like poorly translated signs in other countries. That was essentially this. You're trying to find that mistranslation, and then it ended up giving you the various pieces for the final solve for this puzzle. So like, I forget one of the specific ones, like Krankenwagen or something like that. You know, or Swedish for ugly duckling. You translate it ugly duckling into Swedish, and then when you translate it back to English, it's like, you know, dead horse or something. You're like, where did that come from, right? So it's literal meanings in the language. So we had a lot of fun with this one, like just running them down and going through Google Translate and trying to find, you know, what the goal was. And then once you got those translations, you could piece them together to form the final URL.
So I don't remember all of these, but I'll share some highlights. So I think the first one, needle mouse, is a porcupine. The next one you have chicken milk, which is I believe eggnog. The next one is a dragon shrimp. So that is lobster in Chinese. Then you've got elephant fart. That's popcorn. There's a few more of these. I don't quite remember. Snow cake. I think that was ice cream, maybe.
Yeah, at the bottom you have Krankenwagen, which is sick car.
Sick car. I think that was ambulance, right?
Yeah.
You have so the earth pig. I think that's a aardvark. This one was interesting. God's cow is a ladybug in Russian. I think the frog, shielded frog, is a turtle.
They can't see the bottom. Remember?
Oh yeah.
I think it was like shield toad.
Shield toad. Yeah. So anyway, you figure out what those bad translations are. You pull together the letters, and that gives you finally the last page.
And we're still on the same puzzle.
That's the feeling you get. You're like, are we done yet? Nope. So this, I don't know.
Swords. This one was.
Oh, yeah.
Ours. We did this.
Yeah, so this one took us a bit. We tried a lot of interesting methodologies to solve this one. But at some point, because we were trying to do concatenations at first. And if you read into the text more, I don't remember the exact terms that made it kind of just trigger in my mind that the sword needed to eat the other sword. So you had...
This was the sword swallower puzzle.
Yeah, it's the sword swallower puzzle. So you'd end up with like a word inside another word. And I'm trying to see if there's an example here that I remember. Like, I don't...
So like cure was one of the words, and then it ate apt to make capture.
Yeah, it made capture. And then, so we figure this out, and Theo is just like, I'm going to program this up and just automate it and be done with it. Then I just start sitting there and I'm just like, start spouting them all off. Just in series, I'm just spouting all of them off.
Saying random words.
Yeah, I'm just saying random words. He's like,
Were they all words
what are you
or-
saying? It's like, those are the answers. He's like, oh.
And the thing that was missing for us initially on it was that we had to combine the sword with words from the other solutions to the previous four. So we'd combine, like, we'd replace half of one of the words from a previous puzzle with one of the 3-character things from one of the swords. And the thing you guys can't see is on the bottom, there is a 741BA0982653, which obviously stands for use this to shift everything around to get the actual answer at the end. Duh.
I mean,
Yeah.
The seven's a giveaway. I mean, clearly.
Yeah, it only used A and B and then 0 through 10, which means 12. And if you haven't noticed, there's a theme of 12 in at least every Goldbug puzzle I've ever done. So it's like, oh, 12. So this is just shifting the 12 characters in the right order to get the real answer. Obviously.
Yep. So this one was the meta puzzle for this sub puzzle, right?
The mini meta.
The mini meta. So you had to take each URL, that each page that you had found, and there's a kind of a story if you read the text, and you can go back and read the text. But essentially, it's talking about you found all of the sword swallowers, but there's 3 imposters present. Here's their swords. Can you match the sword with the swallower and identify the imposter? And then if you figure out which of the 4-letter words are the imposters, you line them up in order, alphabetically, and then you take the letters in order from that that 741 key at the bottom.
Obviously.
Oh God, charades.
All right.
So I do want to make sure that we have time to do the meta, because we're down to 20 minutes left.
Wow, time flies.
The only thing I'll say about this one is we were convinced for a moment that in the font, the dots weren't there, and we were looking at the dots on the jackets, and we were counting all the dots. And then Theo actually went and pulled out and found the font, and then we see the dots in the actual font. So we're like, okay, we can rule that idea out.
Yeah, being a graphics person is great because you can rule out a lot of really bad theories. And the answer for this one was way simpler. It's the Roman numerals that you can get out of the strings. So like textile, XI 11. So the thing he is doing standing, making like an X, all of their like gestures represent a letter in some weird language thing. And you figure out where it fits based on the fucking hidden Roman numerals in the text, obviously. Very easy.
We'll teach him.
Yeah, he'll learn eventually.
It's called dancing.
Cool.
All right, let's talk about the slipper.
You want to skip to the meta first, and then we can come back if we've got time.
Sure, let's jump to the meta.
So who saw some of these cards last year? Excellent. I gave out, I don't know, thousands. So, yeah, so this was our meta puzzle last year. And my screen went bad. Okay, it's back. All right, so,
You want me to jump forward?
yeah, 26. So the individual cards, they've all got this gibberish on them. I almost pulled up the exact example I had on the screen. There we go. So for each individual card, it's got some text on it. And this is a simple Caesar cipher. So it's shifted by the number on the card, also the number of how many segments of white lines with dots on it. So in and of itself, it's just a little bite-sized treat for all the hundreds of people that I gave one to that I know are not going to do the gold bug. They still get a little taste. And when you decode them, each of them is a cute little quote from some author. So almost like a fortune cookie, you know. So this one is, "If you fell down yesterday, stand up today," by H.G. Wells. So there you go. That answers all the questions, and you can solve the meta now, right? Yep. So the trick here is that there were 13 different authors. We have 13 cards in each suit, and there's 13 puzzles before the meta. Next slide. So the trick here is a lot of people I saw were like lining up, trying to match up the lines, trying to figure out how to get it across, which was the right idea, but mathematically very, very, very unlikely that you'll get it without using the answers for the other puzzles in order to tell you how to line them up. So to figure out how to line them up, I give you the Joker cards, which have each of the colors. So you have each suit lined up horizontally. It gives you the color order. Incidentally, this is the color palette from last year's DEFCON theme, so we played with that a little bit. I think also some of the fonts. And then we had some hints about the gardeners are telling you how to get through the hedge maze. The gardeners are jokers. There's dead ends, but I promise there's a path through if you do it the right way. Any thoughts on that? Figuring out that part?
Yeah, the putting the cards in order was a lot of fun, actually. With, when you look back at the 13 other solutions to the different puzzles, they all tied into these 13 authors as well. So like one of them was like a white boat or something like that, right? So you've already gone down those rabbit holes of tracing these authors, and then you have the connection with the quotes on the cards as well, which instantly brings it to the front. I think we struggled a little bit until we looked at the jokers to get which order vertically. And we started down that path too of just trying to form a route. But then we started looking at the actual author references and orders and things like that, and it pops out. That's ironically not what threw us for an absolute loop. It was the simple thing again that. It was the snaps. Yeah. So once you got this route through, you were just you could see their little dots, kind of like Pac-Man and everything. You follow that route and just count your steps. And when you turn, you start counting a different number, and each number of steps along that route correlates to a letter.
Go one more.
Yeah. We did not see that at first. We went down so many different rabbit holes. Like, oh God.
Yeah, I remember it was Monday, I think. Yeah, Monday evening. I went down to go to sleep, and I was getting ready to fall asleep. It kind of just hits me because I remember the word treasure, I think, was somewhere on the meta page. And it's like, oh, it's counting your paces like a pirate, where it's like, you count X paces, turn right, count X paces. And then I'm just like, but I'm really tired. Because, over the course of DEFCON weekend, I'd sleep maybe 2 hours a night, sometimes 4 if I'm lucky. Depends if I'm getting time gated. So I just took out the little Post-it note or something like that and wrote down the idea, and I went to sleep. And then I remember waking up in the morning and I have to leave to go to the airport, and I'm just looking at this like,
Way overcomplicated.
what does this mean? So
A message from the past.
And I thankfully remember what I was thinking in my tired state the night before. And so I'm sitting in the terminal waiting for my airplane to board. And thankfully I took a picture, because we had all the cards lined up on the hotel room floor. And I took a picture of it, and I pulled that up on the computer, and I just start drawing on it and had the solution in our Discord's like, oh yeah, got that. And I think he was already in the air, and he landed just like, oh cool, how'd you do that?
Well, no, so I was looking back at our notes, and it was like a different approach, and I was overcomplicating that approach. So I was counting the number of steps on each card versus the number of steps in each segment, and that's the big, like, take a step back, which is what he saw.
Whenever you hit
and clearly the first route didn't work. I'm just saying, but yeah, and you have those epiphany moments where you just suddenly have to get to a computer and start, typing.
Oh, I had the epiphany moment. I was just too tired.
And the fun thing is sometimes we can take the wrong direction and make that actually mean something to mock you or give you a hint for the right direction. So it's fun when that works out. That wasn't the case here.
Nice. Let's see so I think we've got about 12 minutes left.
Do we have any favorite aha moments? Or the most rewarding solves?
Oh, the most rewarding solve was when my laptop fell on the floor and I saw that.
Excellent.
I can complain about Music Box for a bit.
So, this is a puzzle that I guess I was the only one to solve, which is fun because I am not very smart. This puzzle had a couple pieces. There was a PDF that had sheet music notation on it, which I happen to know. There was this music box that would let you put the notes in and play them, and it mostly worked. You might notice, if you're into music theory, that there are notes missing. Don't read too much into that like we did. The PDF that came with this had a long blurb of text at the top, which, as always, we overread and tried to find things in that weren't there. The solution ended up being to ignore the notes that were missing on this entirely, skip 2 of the notes on the sheet music that I thought would have to be transposed but didn't need to be, draw it out on this, then take the text, wrap it the exact width of the number of notes on here, and then overlay the notes in where they are on top of that, and it would show which letters actually mattered to answer the puzzle. Because there was exactly 12 notes that would overlay letters when you did this that way. This took 3 days.
So we had it solved within 5 minutes. We just wanted him to be busy doing stuff, and no.
Yeah, holding back your
this
points
one was
so you
insane. Yeah.
lead your competitors into a false sense of security.
And it was one of those puzzles. I think you explained it to us, and I still don't understand it. Yeah. So, like, good job.
Yeah.
You want to do shopping for Granny?
Yeah, let's do that one.
All right. So shopping for Granny. This one I think was one of my favorites to do because there were absolutely no tricks. They might disagree, but there were no tricks, no gimmicks. So all of the puzzles are based on a Victorian parlor game. And if you figure out what the game is for this one, then you literally just play the game. So the game is called Elephant's Foot Umbrella Stand, which doesn't make sense, but if you Google it, basically it's a game where there's a person who chooses a secret. So let's say every word has to end with an E. And so you go around and take turns, and someone says, oh, Granny went to the shop and she bought fish. Well, fish doesn't end in an E, so the person in charge will say, nope, sorry, we're out of fish. There's no fish at the shop. And then the next person goes, and then they try to figure out what the rule is. And then as more people figure it out, then eventually everyone gets to do it. And in some variations of the game, when you have your turn, you first have to repeat all the other answers that the other players have said. And that'll help you reinforce, like, what is the rule? How does this work? And help you remember it. So in this puzzle, what we did was basically just set up a web page to play that game with you. You have to, Granny sent you to the shop to buy 13 things, and you don't remember what it is, so you just guess, and the shopkeeper will say, yeah, we've got that, or no, we don't, or if whatever word you said wasn't on the random list of 1,010 whatever nouns that I found, it'll say just, I don't know what that is, go back and ask Grammy, you're obviously confused. And then probably what was the most frustrating part is that you have to start over every time. You get stuck in this like Groundhog Day loop. But I also wanted to reinforce the correct answers to help you when you get to the end to say, oh, that's how to take my answer and put it in the scoreboard. So essentially, each word had to start with a certain letter. You take the letters in order, that's your answer.
I like this one. So some of you might have played something similar, like, Green Door. Like, a car can go through the green door, but an automobile can't, right? And there's some difference between those. And that whole process of finding out what that is, the frustrating part was having to go through it all the way each time, especially if you made a typo. Like, ugh. But one of them was cocaine, I think. Like,
so
we
word
started doing like just different drugs. We started
any word in the list that was found in the dictionary and started with the correct letter, it would take as valid.
Yeah. So punk. Yeah. There were a lot of words that we could have used for C. We just thought cocaine was funny.
My solve had a very messed up granny. She was...
she gave you that weird etiquette book, so.
All right. So we did get the 5-minute hand signal. So I think we have 2 minutes left. So maybe let's just close it out.
Thank you.
So thank you everybody for coming. The contest, we've been talking about last year's contest. Guess what? We have one this year. So if you're not working on it yet, please do check it out. Come find us outside the doors. We have a few things, some artifacts from last year's puzzle and some coins
this
from
is
this
our trophy
year's.
for this year if you win.
So thank you everybody.